That being said, here it comes.
Said, wasn't it?
It's karate chop time. Hiya! It's the bottom line, aka
bottom line.
Terrible Twos, aka the bottom liner. Mike gets mad at me when I call it the Terrible Twos because it is
the
called
the bottom line, aka the bottom line.
The Terrible Twos. Here we go. It's the final two questions of this podcast. It's the most important two questions. So let's just get right into it. They need no introduction. Now that I've introduced them, question number one, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg. On a scale of one, oh man, you're going to rate this so high. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the first episode of What We Do in the Shadows entitled Pilot?
I'll tell you that I was prepared to give this my highest rating ever.
What?
I was prepared to give this my highest rating ever.
Oh.
But then rewatching it, I was kind of like, yeah, these jokes weren't as funny the second time watching it. I still laughed a lot, but it's not worthy of my highest score ever. But I will still give this first episode of What We Do in the Shadows, entitled Pilot, written by Jermaine Clement, directed by Taika Waititi, executive produced by Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi. I'll give it a 9.
Man, I wish you could see. In my notes, I've already got a 9 written. Not a 9 point anything. I've got a 9. And I was just waiting. I'm like, can you just finish so I could take my finger off? And then you just kept going longer just to tease me. But I didn't want to like keep spacing over just in case I was wrong. But I got a 9 for you. I wrote a 9. Okay.
Yeah. Nice.
Melissa.
9 it up.
In their defense, I will say that, remember, even if the jokes didn't hit as hard this time or didn't land as hard as they did before, remember, a lot of it was the delivery too. The deliveries.
Oh, that's really why I gave it a 9. So,
yeah,
still a high score.
It's very high, very high. Speaking of very high, Melissa, what would you give on a scale of 1 to 10 to this first episode of What We Do in the Shadows?
So I've been toiling over this answer. Because I'm not a very good rater, but I would say
estimate high.
I would say a 7.8959.
Oh no! Do you want to simplify that for my notes?
No. Okay, 7.9.
Okay. I guessed 8.5. I was a little off there. Very nice.
All right, Ryan, you're in the hot seat now. Is that seat getting too hot for you?
No, it's full of gummy bears and pretzels. Not even like the stick pretzels,
sticky.
just
sticky.
just these kind of pretzels. What I wanted to give it last night when I watched it, I think I'm gonna stick with it. Am I? I guess I should have thought about this. My initial impression was 7.5. But upon revisiting the delivery of the actors, I think I'm gonna go a little lower and give it a 7.8. Final answer. Oh wait, 8 is higher than 5, huh? So yeah, I'm gonna stick with 7.8 because of the delivery of the actors. Because and obviously, Michael, you must be onto something with this director, because obviously a lot of that is directing, because they're not just making acting choices, they're making entire character choices, which is going to be, honed or influenced by the director. The director is going to tell them, go as big as you can, do this kind of accent or do whatever it is. Clearly, the actors and the director came together and made something that we think is unique and funny.
Well, I'll tell you that the three main characters in the three main vampire characters in this episode are based on the three main vampire characters from the movie. Not completely.
Based? It's not the same actors?
No.
Oh, interesting.
In the movie, it was Taika Waititi, Jermaine Clement, and then there was like a third guy too. I forget his name, but they were actually the actors in the movie.
Weird.
Yeah, Taika is a very good actor as well. He did the voice of the IG unit in The Mandalorian. If you remember, he also directed the last episode of season 1. I think he maybe directed an episode or two of season 2 of The Mandalorian as well. But yeah, he likes to put himself in his own movies. He plays Hitler in Jojo Rabbit. He plays the father in Boy. He's a very good actor, very hilarious actor. He plays the Nandor type character in the movie of What We Do in the Shadows.
So
but
we're almost out of
are
time.
Different.
But why didn't he have himself, have the same cast,
Well, I do know, but it's a spoiler. So you're just going to have to keep watching if you want to find out. But I guess we'll have to find out now if we are going to continue watching.
It's a spoiler to know why him and the Clement guy were not in this new series?
Yep.
Weird. Okay.
Yep.
And intriguing. All right. Well, Mike, you are correct. As always, the second question in the power deuce, the bottom line, the final two questions, the terrible twos, is for the purposes of this podcast, we had to watch the first episode of What We Do in the Shadows. Now that the podcast is over and we are free to move about the internet, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, don't answer right away, really give it some thought, but would you watch the second episode?
Well, I was fully prepared to come on here and say that I absolutely would watch the second episode. But then after watching this first episode again, like I mentioned a couple times, it was not as drop dead hilarious as that it was the first time I watched it. Okay, Ryan, you're on to me. I would watch the second episode again. So.
Yeah.
My subterfuge has been subterfuded.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to have like a show that you like it a little bit less, but you still love it. It's still great. It's still well written and directed. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
All the way. Melissa, would you watch the second episode?
I think I would watch the second episode. Yes.
All right, now for the tough one. Have we done enough to convince Ryan to watch the second episode?
Yeah. In my notes when I watched it, I put 7.5 and no/yes because I'm not really sure. I'll make it a game time decision. But when I'm looking back on it with fondness, that's enough to push me over the edge. Because sometimes when you sleep on it, you're like, it was okay, but who cares? But like if you sleep on it and then the next day you look back and you're like, I remember those scenes and they made me laugh and I like to share them with my friends. That means you wouldn't mind seeing the next one probably. So that's a triple yes. That's that.
Nice. I'll tell you on IMDb, the pilot got an 8.1. But episode 9, 9.4. Yeah.
I wouldn't watch the 9th though. Jeez. I'd watch the 2nd.
No, but then, it just gets better.
So anyway, that's it, you guys. We did a lot of good today. We saved the world in our own special way. And it's time to move forward. Yeah. So what I'd like to say is This podcast certainly was, wasn't it?
You said that last week. You can't use the same one.
That's why I was already cracking myself up before I said it, because I wanted to see your
God.
reaction.
Ah, okay. So do another one.
This podcast was purple.
Ah, this podcast was a lot better the first time I watched it.
This podcast was sticky.
It was gummy
Yeah.
berry, yeah.
Yeah. Gummy bear stickiness and then pretzel stickies.
Little sticks.
Yeah, it made me, Michael, what you said made me think of how I was going to tell you a time travel joke, but you didn't like it.
Yeah, I remember that. Dead air.
Okay. And it's just like watching Melissa when she pieces it together and she's like, what's happening? Why are these guys being so stupid all the time? That's who we
These
are.
crazy guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Everybody remember what Mr. Michael Kinnan Rosenberg likes to always say to all of us.
Don't be stupid. Register to be an organ donor and watch the first of things.
Watch this. Freeze frame. Mike hates this part. Freeze frame.
No, nope, not gonna freeze frame.
Freeze frame.
Nope, not happening. I'm keeping moving, so there's no freeze frame.
No.
Nope,
This is a freeze
No.
frame too.
nope. No, it's not. I'm still shaking my head.
All right. Freeze frame.
Nope.